Thank you everyone for joining us for our first ever virtual story time. I'm Tina. I'm here at Powell's in downtown Portland, Oregon. And today, author Stephanie Campisi joins us to read from her new picture book, Five Sisters, illustrated by Madalina Andronic. When a great white oak gifts an old man a branch filled with magic, he carves 5 wooden dolls, each smaller than the last. The wooden dolls take on a life of their own and frolic from one season to the next, spreading joy along the way. Woodland creatures and playfully painted matryoshka dolls invite you to explore a tale of heartache, hope, and love. And thank you again, Stephanie, for being here for our first story time. Take it away.
Thank you, Tina. Thank you so much for popping in, everybody, and thank you for hosting Pals. We have a pretty long history together. This is my 3rd reading with Pals, but my first virtual one, so we'll see how we go. So, as mentioned, this is my new book, Five Sisters. It came out about a month ago, so it's brand new. The pages are still warm. Words are by me. Illustrations are by a Romanian illustrator who's based in Italy at the moment, Madalina Andronic, and they're gorgeous. So this is a little bit of a different story for me. I usually write funny animal stories, but we have sort of a folkloric tale today. This was actually written when I was living in extremely rainy small town southern Washington, which I think you might notice from the illustrations. So, alrighty. Five Sisters. This little fox who makes an appearance in this book actually appeared in my backyard one day. So there you go. Okay. The old couple had cared for the woods since its trees had been saplings and the paths through its heart had been brambles. With kindly trowels, they had tended the pines, shaped the spruce spires, and coaxed the great oaks from beneath acorn caps. The woods had grown up around them, thoughtful and wise, but the family they desperately wanted had not. They are in their little cottage. They'd framed the fox. "Husband," said the old woman one day, "it is spring again, and everything is abloom except in our cottage. I fear it will never be spring for us." The old man said nothing, for he rarely did, but his tears were flowers that fell in silent bouquets, guiding the shapes that he carved with his hands. Here he is, carving his woodwork. That evening, under the twilight moon, the old man laced up his boots and, as he so often did, went deep into the white of the woods, the nudge of his trowel reminding the path of its way. He climbed through thickets, past thatches and over briars until the woods opened into a clearing loved by the tender light of the pale sky. There's a creeping little wolf here in the background you might want to pay attention to. An old oak tree soared overhead, its canopy holding the stars the fireflies so admired. Wildflowers charmed its roots. "Tree," said the old man, making a tent of its hollow heart, "how small you were when I first came to visit. If only everything could grow like you." It's his magic tree. Hearing the sorrow in the old man's voice, the tree bowed its head. "Old man," it said, "you gave me the gift of life. Now let me do the same." When the old man returned, it was with a branch the color of a winter pond. Over 5 days, under the moon's mild eye, he carved from it 5 wooden dolls, each smaller than the last, the smallest just a knot. He brought his gift to the old woman, who clapped her hands in joy and placed the dolls by the window where they drank the sunshine and the tales she wove. So he is carving the dolls. And here is the result. 5 little dolls, each with their own personality. As summer spread its golden arms, they would paddle in the stream, etching patterns in the water and counting the silk-scaled fish as they leapt. When autumn visited, dressed in red, they would play in the trees, watching birds flit like flames and scattering sunflower seeds to bring them near. The old woman loved the dolls as daughters and counted her days as blessings. Her happiness made the old man's heart sing. Husband, said the old woman one day as the frost nibbled at the trees, no matter the season, for us it is spring eternal, and everything is abloom, thanks to you. The old man said nothing, for he rarely did, but he sat amongst the dolls, their merry chatter guiding the shapes that he carved. Here in the background lurks the wolf. That evening, under the twilight moon, he laced up his boots and prepared to go deep into the woods to thank the tree for its gift. But the wise woods stooped to warn him of a vision they'd had of teeth and eyes, and when the old man turned back, he saw a shadow devouring the cottage. It snaked up the bricks and stalked up the window where it loomed darkly over the dolls, a wolf. The old man raised his trowel and ran at the wolf, who shrank back and spat out the dolls, then fled deep into the white of the woods. The moon wept a silver path and the trees stepped back as the old man carried the dolls to the hollow heart of the oak tree. There he draped them in wildflowers, his tears falling like spring rain. But the tree lent its gentle magic, and before him lay not the dolls, but a daughter, real and true. As season flows to season, the cottage windows grew bright with the family's laughter, and the floors grew glad with their dancing. The woods grew sunny with their happiness, and it was spring ever after. And we have our matryoshka doll end purpose. Go. So thank you very much for that. So a very personal story to me. It's a little bit about my own son. So alrighty. So I thought I would follow that one up with something a little bit different from another Aussie author, because why not? You might be familiar with Gus Gordon, who did Herman and Rosie, and he has a new one out called Finding Francois, which I can't wait to find and can't wait to buy. But this one is The Last Peach, which came out last year and is absolutely delightful. So I'm going to put my Aussie voice on for this one instead of my storytelling voice. So this is written and illustrated by Gus because he's a genius. All right, The Last Peach. You have two little bugs looking at the peach. Oh my, now that is a fine peach. Yes, indeed, the finest. It's the most beautiful peach I've seen all summer. Wouldn't you agree? I do agree. In fact, it's the most beautiful peach I've seen in all the summers. Yes, yes. We must eat that peach at once. We must. Let's eat it at once. Yes, yes. Stop! You can't eat that peach. It's the last peach of the season. The last peach? Are you sure? Yes, I'm sure. Oh. Why can't we eat the last peach of the season? Maybe if we eat it, there will never be another peach so lovely and round and delicious. Let's eat it. Let's eat it. Wait, that peach looks grand on the outside, but you can bet it's all stinky and rotten on the inside. Oh no, I'm so disappointed. We should leave it then. Yes, yes. It's such a juicy looking peach. What if we had just one little bite? Yes, no one would notice and our tummies would be very happy. But we would probably eat the whole peach and get big tummy aches. Oh, I don't like big tummy aches. No. It might be a magical peach. What if we ate it and could suddenly do magical things, like fly? Yes. Hang on, we can already fly. Oh yeah. I have a brilliant idea. What? How about we share the peach with all our friends? They would love us. We would be peach hunting heroes. We would be hungry heroes. I think the peach wants us to eat it. Yes, if it could talk, it would say, why isn't someone eating me? And then we would eat it. And then it would never talk again. Oh, let's not eat the peach. I have written a poem for the peach. I love poems. Dearest peach, you are the nicest of them all. There will never be another as sweet as thee. You warm my heart like my favorite pajamas. Oh, that was magnificent. Thank you. Eyeing off the peach. I've had enough. I should have the peach because I saw it first. No, I got here first. I should have the peach. That's my peach. No, it's my peach. No, it's not your peach. Yes, it is. Not is. Not is. It is the most splendid of peaches. You are right. It's too beautiful for us. Yes, it is. Goodbye, peach. Goodbye, peach. We love you. There we go. Alrighty, so delightful book, that one. Alrighty, and then how about we continue the animal theme? And this is another one of my books. This is called Lewis and Tabitha. It's by the same publisher as Five Sisters, and it's illustrated by Hollie Mengert, who's a currently LA-based illustrator. She was based in Seattle formerly. This book has actually been turned into a book. Books are a Portland-based company. You should definitely check it out. It's an animated version of this book, so it's pretty delightful. Lewis and Tabitha. So there is a secret little mouse who lurks on most of the pages of this book. So let me know if you can spot him. It might be a little bit hard to see, but I'll help. Lewis was a cat about town, dashing, charming, perfectly suave. He lived, unofficially, at the fire station and had since a daring rescue involving a very small Lewis, a very shrill smoke alarm, and a very tall house. His tail still had the scorch marks. Lewis liked to go visiting, I pressed something, as society cats do. Sometimes he'd travel in the fire truck. Everywhere he went, Lewis was welcome with open arms and leftovers. One night, after too much catnip and too many sardines, Lewis was making his rounds when he took a wrong turn and saw Tabitha. So he climbed a wall and saw Tabitha, elegant, silky, perfectly sophisticated. I'm not very good at purring in my accent, but just imagine. Lewis stopped. Tabitha stared. It was love, love from afar, love under the spotlight of the moon. Love watered by a thick glass door. Lewis is an outside cat. Tabitha is an inside cat. And by Tabitha's owner. Shoo, she cried. Shoo! Lewis shooed. But he wasn't done. He's a tenacious cat. The next morning, Tabitha stared out at a vast bouquet of sardine tins and twine and feathers. Lewis smiled. Tabitha smiled. Tabitha's owner did not smile. Shoo, she cried. Shoo! Lewis shooed, but he wasn't done. The next day he brought mice. The day after that, he brought pigeons. And after that, balloons, which is not easy when you're a cat. Each day, Lewis and Tabitha stared into each other's eyes until Tabitha's owner chased Lewis away. Little mouse friend. Lewis needed advice. He asked his friends over a bowl of cream. You're an outside cat, said Mr. Pickles. And you need to be an inside cat, said Socks. Or at least look like one, said One-Eyed Winky. Lewis looking at a lost poster. Lewis had an idea. He's his mouse friend again. So he paints his tail black to look like the cat in the lost poster. And the next day, Lewis showed up at Tabitha's door once more. Here he is sitting on the lost poster, pretending to be this cat. Lewis smiled. Tabitha smiled. Tabitha's owner clutched her hands to her heart and opened the door. Lewis was inside. where everything was soft and warm and scratchable. And Lewis and Tabitha were inseparable. Until the doorbell rang. Is this him? That's him. The owner's coming to pick up the cat that he thinks is his. And Lewis and Tabitha were thwarted by the thick glass door once more. Lewis had a new home and a new name and a new owner and all the sardines and cheese he could eat. But all he wanted was Tabitha, and all Tabitha wanted was Lewis. It was love, love from afar, love from far too afar. This is my favourite scene, the Romeo and Juliet balcony scene. Oh, and our friend the mouse lurking up here. Then the doorbell rang. Is this him? That's him. And that's not him. Lewis's subterfuge has been found out. And Lewis was a cat about town once more. Little mouse friend hiding up here. Lewis needed advice. He asked his friends over a bowl of cream. You're an outside cat, said Mr. Pickles. She's an inside cat, said Socks. And that's just the way it is, said One-Eyed Winky. So Lewis went visiting, as society cats do. He went visiting all around town. It's a little bit sadder these days, walking around in the rain. Everywhere he went, he was welcomed with open arms and leftovers. And everywhere he went, Tabitha wasn't. Little mouse friend down here. Until one night, Lewis was riding in the fire truck when his tail began to tingle. Lewis saw Tabitha, elegant, silky, perfectly sophisticated, and in terrible danger. The fire over here. The sirens began to wail. Everyone outside, cried the firefighters. The crowd was a cloud of arms and shrieks as it gathered on the corner. But there was no Tabitha. And suddenly, there was no Lewis. The crowd waited and worried and fretted. Finally, the grey parted, and from it emerged Lewis and Tabitha leading Tabitha's owner. The crowd cheered. Tabitha's owner plopped down on the curb and clutched her hands to her heart. She looked at Lewis and Tabitha and smiled. The cat show judge placed a blue ribbon on Tabitha and the firefighters placed a gold medal on Lewis and declared them both perfectly heroic. Lewis was back inside where everything was soft and warm and scratchable. And Lewis and Tabitha were inseparable. Lewis now has his own cat door, so he can come and go as he wishes. Alrighty, and that is Lewis and Tabitha, inspired by my own little cat who used to stare out the window meowing all night, and I wondered why, so I gave him his own Tabitha. Alrighty. So, would anybody like to do a Q&A, or we can chat, ask some questions? No? Alrighty, I have more books, so I can keep reading.
Hello, I'm back.
Hello. All right.
Hi, everyone.
Definitely.
I'm sure we could read for hours, probably. I just want to thank everyone again for joining us for our first ever story time. It was a pleasure having you, Stephanie, meeting you virtually through the camera. And thank you, everyone who logged in to see us. Also, make sure you check out our lineup of other virtual events on powells.com, and stay tuned. We look forward to seeing you again.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for hosting and for having me.
Fantastic. Thank you. And thank you for introducing us to the old man and the matryoshka dolls. That was lovely. Okay. Thanks, everyone.
Bye, everyone.